feel bad.
In my open relationships, one of the things I noticed was that, I suffered with, real hard jealousy as well. And one of the things I did to overcome this or tackle this is, I went down the route of open relationships,
Yeah.
and it was tough. It was tough that, she would, the first girl I had an open relationship with, she was really transparent, really honest. She wouldn't hide. She wouldn't, say anything. And what I realized was, over time, it was the openness that allowed me to kind of like sit back and relax. I know she was with with one of our partners. And what I noticed was, when I was in the open relationships and I had multiple partners, the one thing that drove my partners nuts, it wasn't the fact that I was seeing other girls. It was the fact that when she was upset, then I will start filtering myself, start holding myself, like, and what I noticed was, that's what was really pissing her off. Not the fact that, she kind of like, okay, there was a sexual desire of like, cool, he's a stud, he's going out. There was a sexual fantasy about him making out with another girl. But what was the difficult part for her, and actually even me, is that fact that when secrecy was there, that was the hardest thing to take in that part.
Yeah. Can you guys see that this secrecy part is probably the most toxic part of everything we're talking about? And Faisal, yeah, I don't know in your context, but I've worked with a number of people who either have been or are in open relationships, and almost everyone will tell some story of cheating, even when the people can have sex with whoever they want, within whatever parameters they've set up. And I'm not calling my wife out, but my wife can do anything and everything she wants. And there's been a couple of occasions she withheld information from me. And I asked her later, why did you do that? You don't have to. I mean, I even one time even said, there's something about your story that doesn't ring true. And my wife's a very honest person. I couldn't do this with her, right? And she said, no, I told you the truth. And then like later that afternoon, so within 4 hours, she comes back to me and says, can we talk? And she told me the whole truth. And she'd even told me some lies. She fabricated some lies in this story. And I said, why did you do that? I said, you don't have to. I said, I will say yes to anything, you tell me. And, it's okay. I said, I get turned on by it. I said, why would you keep it from me and lie? And she said, because I had shame. Because I had shame. And, so our kind of like you were, Faisal, trying to work, one of the things you were working on was probably just sexual novelty, but probably also around, okay, I'm going to work on my jealousy in this process. The mantra my wife and I have had we've been doing this for about 2.5 years now, of her side of the relationship being open. I won't go into the whole backstory, but it came with a revelation after her and I did ayahuasca, and she told me things about her life. And I said, well, you shouldn't have to dampen down your sexual desires and who you are to be with me, because my sexual desires can't match yours. And, she likes both sexes. I can't be both sexes to her. But there's that piece. And so, but our mantra has been, let's use each other. Let's gift each other that we're going to support each other in cleaning out all sexual guilt and shame. So when I asked her, why did you lie to me when you didn't have to? She goes, well, I had shame. Tuve vergüenza. Vergüenza is shame. And I said, okay, let's work on that. And so that was my response. Let's work on the shame, because it's the shame that leads us to acting badly. Let's clear the shame out. And then it's easy to be a transparent, open book and behave well, to behave within our own standards that we've set for ourselves in the relationship. So I love, Faisal, what you said, that you used the sexual dynamic to go to work on other, seemingly peripheral issues. Because if you look at most of kind of the big hitters in terms of people that, really talk about how to get to the depth of human change, they usually talk about using a portal of sexuality. Freud did, of course. Osho, Eastern, guru, used sexuality. A lot of the Eastern gurus did. Use sexuality as a portal. Dr. David Snarch talks about the sexual crucible of where we use sex to go to the deepest part of who we are. David Deida has a book called Finding God Through Sex. So what a lot of really wise people have found, because sex is so powerful It is such a deep, deep part of who we are. And it gets so messed up by society that sex is probably the most powerful portal to go do our deepest work on who we are. So, and you know, what a great way to clean up a lot of this old stuff, our shame, our jealousy, our insecurities, our secretive behaviors, if we'll consciously, you know, use sex in this powerful way. And usually I think it's going to require a team to help us do that. Because anytime we're not revealing ourselves, after the last time I cheated, it's been several years ago, the next relationship I got into, I immediately decided I need a crew. I need a group of men. The one reason I could slip into an old bad behavior that I thought I'd gotten over was that I started keeping stuff inside myself and not telling anybody. Resentments, you know, just stuff that built over time, little secretive behaviors. So now I have a crew. There's people in my life that know every mood. I met with them last Wednesday, and you know, I talked about feeling sad at times, an existential sadness that I can't explain. But I'm talking about deep feelings to these people. They know that, you know, that my wife is in her side of the relationship's open. They know my side isn't. They know what a slip for me would be. They know what thing. I've got a crew to help me do this work, and it's not because I think I'm bad. Is because, oh, what a fertile way to go about doing this work, to use the portal of sexuality to do my deepest work.
Now, if I heard this 10 years ago of you saying, I need to go deep, really reveal myself to a lot of the guys, I would never have done this. I would never have, like, this is crazy. There is no way I'm going to share anything about my sex or sexuality because, you know, the way I grew up in my culture, in my religion, it was very, you know, sex is a shame. It's a taboo. You don't talk about it. It's all hidden. You don't talk about, you know, I remember even just having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he said the word masturbation, and it triggered me, and it was like shame. I'm like,
This is
you
like
said that.
Beavis and Butthead. He said masturbation.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that kind of thing.
I'm like, you're saying that in a social context. Why are you even saying this? You know, and this is before I had any self awareness and awareness. So there's going to be a lot of guys who's thinking, there's no way I'm going to go and speak to a men's group or anyone. You know, where can they start? Just even the process of dealing with this.
Well, that's such a good question. You know, where I started, I don't know the right way to do it, but I actually started in a 12-step group. My ex-wife, who, you know, I'd acted out with her and then got with her and then acted out on her and then had stopped it. And then the person who I acted out with was a friend of hers, told her about a year later. And that's what she said. Everybody thinks you're a nice guy. You're not. You need therapy. You need help. You're a sex addict. And she was convinced because I wanted to have sex with her, because you guys all know the story. On our honeymoon, she said, "Aren't you glad we don't have to pretend to like sex anymore?" Right? Oh, wait, I wasn't pretending, but I was a nice guy, right? So she said, "You're a sex addict." So I went to a 12-step group for sex addicts. And I quickly found out I wasn't. I wasn't sexually compulsive. And I surely wasn't having enough sex to be a sex addict. I really was more of that validation addict. Oh, you like me? Oh, okay. I'll sacrifice all my values for you because you like me. So, but I went to this 12-step group, and it was, to this day, that was 30 plus years ago. I had to get up like 5 o'clock in the morning to get to this group once a week, and I loved it. It was all guys. It's the first men's group I was ever in, and these guys had hardcore shit going on. I mean, there's some that have been to jail for their sexual acting out, probably should have been in jail for their sexual acting out, and I'm going, oh yeah, I try to touch my wife's breast, and she gets mad at me and calls me names, and they're going, "Thanks for sharing, Robert. You know, glad you're here. What the fuck are you doing here?" We got real stuff to take care of. But for the first time in my life, before I even understood toxic shame, I started revealing myself. And you know what? It felt liberating. I got excited about going to this group because I'd never, and then not even just about sex. I just started revealing all kinds of stuff about myself, thoughts, impulses, actions, things I hadn't done, but even just thought about doing, right? And it was liberating. Then I got into a men's group for sexual shame. So I understand there's probably not, you know, a lot of, you know, places on the internet, you know, you go looking. Come to this group and talk about everything you don't want anybody to know about you. And yeah, I'll sign up for that. But I know, just like, again, you guys have all done workshops with me. And you guys all know the power of men in groups. Even if a guy isn't going to the group to start revealing his sexual shame, all it takes is one guy to say, I got this thing with porn. I can't quit. I got shame about it. I've been caught 17,000 times and I keep swearing I won't do it again. I do it again. I feel so much. One guy share his struggle, then, a room full of 8, 10, 12 other guys who have not said a word about pornography, masturbation, fantasy, go, yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. And now all of a sudden, once there's a sense of safety and trust, guys start opening up in ways they never thought they would. And what is surprising is that it feels good. You wouldn't think that, but it feels good to start sharing with other men who are also being real and honest and transparent about their struggles. And then often, like, we do this, maybe this happens on a Friday night in the workshop. And then Saturday morning, usually there'll be one other guy who goes, I got to share something. I didn't share this last night. And maybe he even takes it to another level of revealing. So if you put men in a space that feels safe, where there's modeling of being open and transparent, it's contagious because it does feel good. You let this shit out, and it's kind of like you look around and goes, these guys aren't looking at me with like evil faces, like I'm an evil person. They're kind of like nodding and almost like what I said didn't matter, because they're going to now share their experience of doing something, and I don't judge them and they don't judge me. And all of a sudden you go, holy fuck, this is what it feels like to release shame, to release
It's a
stuff.
relief.
Oh,
It's
it
a
feels
relief.
good. It feels good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a relief because I remember when I started my journey after my divorce, and I remember sitting in a seminar room listening to this guy, and he was sharing things. I'm like, wow, you're saying really that? And then I said, oh, that's me too. And it was like the green, like I said, it was the green light. I didn't start straight away, but it was just like listening to other
Mm-hmm.
men saying, we have this problem. And it was like such a relief to know that I'm not the only one. And when I start working with guys as well, and say, okay, there's porn, there's masturbation, there's sex, and they're like, this is normal. I'm like, yeah, you're not going to tell me anything that's going to shock me.
Yeah, that surprises people. But guys, you probably never. No, yeah, I've heard it. I've been working with men for 30 years. I've heard it. Believe me. However, you think you're terminally unique, that you're the only one that struggles with this, you're not. There's probably support groups around the world with people talking about that very subject right now. Yeah, because if you think about it, you can't do this by yourself. I do morning pages every morning, so it's kind of a journal, and I just, it doesn't matter what I write about. Often it's about what I'm grateful for, or feelings I'm having, or things I'm pissed off about. Well, whatever. But shame seems to be that because we internalize shame in a social construct, and usually often inaccurately and unconsciously at a very early age when our brain was in a hypnotic state, that's when we internalize this belief, I'm bad, I'm evil, I'm not good enough. Then we put all the cultural and religious rules that's all they are, is rules to keep us feeling bad. you know um think about it. The United States, what, 1 in every 100 men is in prison. The United States has more laws than any other developed country in the world. You know, again, governments, cultures, religions figure out, if you make enough laws and make enough stuff evil, bad, sinful, and punish people for it, you can control them. You can keep them under control. You can manage them. And that's a whole other subject about, large institutions managing the masses. But that's where most of the shame comes from, is this: we inaccurately internalize things that we weren't really bad. We weren't bad for the things that we thought we were bad for. So to get it out, we have to do it in a social construct where, like, we share it and we look around and go, nobody's got a scowl on their face. Nobody's giving me the evil eye. Nobody's berating me. Nobody even looks at all upset or bothered. In fact, they seem more interested in talking about their shame. And then if they give you feedback that says, Ari, you're not bad, you're not different. That's actually really common, normal behavior. And then they might say, well, let's explore what it means. Or is there a place where you actually violated your own standards in that you do need to address? Or is that you just feeling bad because you got caught or somebody thinks you're bad? Or, you get more accurate feedback. We can't do that in the echo chamber of our own mind. Einstein, I'm going to misquote him, but said something like, the thinking that got you to where you're at is not going to get you out of where you're at. We need an infusion of a different viewpoint, a different way of thinking to get us out of wherever we're stuck. So yeah, you guys know me. I am a big fan of men's groups, men's programs, 12-step groups, any place where men go and get real and get supported and get more accurate information from other caring people who are doing the same work themselves. Now, that can be
But
therapy, that can be a coach, it can be a men's group, it can be a 12-step group, but any place we go reveal ourselves consciously.